Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View for a very special Friday episode we're doing tonight. Tonight, we're joined by President Trump's attorney, Joe Tacopina. Joe, I feel like you're getting pretty famous these days. I see you everywhere. You're doing everything. You are absolutely killing it. And I mean, let's face it, you probably have the case of the century here. I don't think any eyes have been on a case in recent history like they are on this one. And for good reason. Obviously, what we saw happen to Donald Trump as a former president when he was indicted by Alvin Bragg was unprecedented. It had never happened before in history. And I thought, well, gosh, this must be something big. I mean, we all assumed we knew what was in this indictment. It must be something big if you're going to make history in this way, if you're going to go so far as to be the first district attorney, the first prosecutor to bring these charges forward on a former president. And then we got the indictment and we saw it. Joe, what was your initial reaction when you finally got your hands on it? Because we didn't see any crime in there as far as most of us could tell.
Yeah, honestly, at first I thought we were missing some pages. When I looked at it, because it referenced it was the same count 34 times as false business record,
right,
which is a misdemeanor. It didn't happen, but assuming it did, it's a misdemeanor, which would be far outside the statute of limitations for a count like that. And so to cobble together a couple of misdemeanors to make it a felony is what they did. And what they did was that by making it a felony, they had to say this was in furtherance of another crime or to aid and abet or conceal another crime. But then they don't list what the other crime is. I mean, So for all we know, it could be drunk driving or something like that. But I mean, I think we all understand that it's this federal election campaign law. And if that is what it is, they've just missed the mark grotesquely, because there is absolutely no violation of FEC guidelines and rules, just none.
Yeah, and actually several different entities looked at this case. They looked at the situation here, and they didn't go to bring charges. They said, well, there's really nothing here. There's nothing that Donald Trump has done. I talk about it all the time. My husband talks about it all the time. I assume you do too. The district attorney's office there in New York has had for almost 6 years, I think, 11 million documents from the Trump organization. They have page by page gone through them in order to find any crime. I mean, as far as I understand, that's not on the up and up. That's not how you're supposed to do things. You're supposed to see that there possibly was a crime committed and then get all the evidence, right? So that in and of itself, I think, is a problem for a lot of people. But then when you see other folks did not pursue this. It took Alvin Bragg to do it, despite experts and analysts, even on liberal news stations, saying that they think this is a super flimsy, super weak case. Why do you think Alvin Bragg would still go forward with this? Does he really think he has a shot at winning this case?
I think he's doing it because he came under pressure from his constituents, from the people who finance his campaigns. And he did it because he promised he was going to do it when he was campaigning for district attorney, which is scary, Lara. If you understand the ramifications of that statement, when he was campaigning, he actually said, he was asked the question, will you convict Donald Trump? Well, first of all, you have to get to an investigation. There's, an indictment, there's a trial process, then a conviction, right? Before you get to conviction. But the question was, will you convict Donald Trump? And he said, that is issue number one. Well, He wasn't a prosecutor at that point. How would he have known that was issue number one before he had evidence? And it feeds into exactly what Pomerantz said in his book, that he wrote in violation of the laws of ethics, rules of ethics, and the state laws. He said that they hated Trump so much that they were looking for a crime to fit.
Right.
And they scoured his records for 7 years worth of personal and business records. Over a 3-year period. And when you think about it, that's exactly what's not supposed to happen in this country. You said it best, Lara. It's not supposed to be, let's find the target and then we'll figure out the crime. I mean, Nazi Germany, that was okay. Communist China, that was okay. Soviet Union, that was okay. When you had a political opponent you wanted to end, you just pick the crime and charge them with it. We've crossed the Rubicon here that unfortunately I don't think we're ever going to go back to, or be able to come back from. by stretching the law to get a political opponent. And when you stretch the law and the rule of law to get a political opponent, it's oftentimes very hard to put that rule of law back in its original shape. And that's my biggest fear here.
Yeah, it was Joseph Stalin's right-hand man, I believe, who said, "Show me the man and I will show you the crime." And of course, you can just plug Alvin Bragg's name now into Joseph Stalin's right-hand man. That's exactly what's going on here, right? And I think everybody sees it. But Joe, you've been doing this a long time, and I'm just wondering, have you ever experienced a case quite like this in your career? And is there any doubt that if the last name wasn't Trump, nothing would have ever happened with this? We certainly would never have seen this, a person in a courtroom being charged with any offense for this crime because there was no crime, right?
Without question. If that wasn't Donald Trump, if it was John Smith, there's no way we'd be here trying to breathe life into a lifeless case, a case that's been passed on by all that had looked at it previously. If you weren't running for re-election, and being the leading candidate on the Republican side at this point, there's no way we'd be here, which really makes it very clear that this is the weaponization of the justice system. This is the politicizing of a prosecutor's office. Everything that we're not supposed to do again in this country, we are doing right now. The mold has been broken. And by the way,
yep.
The pendulum swings both ways. I think we're at a point now where, within a day of that indictment, you heard calls for Republican prosecutors to look at Democratic politicians who they wanted to, take out of office. There were cries that state prosecutors should look at Biden now, state Republican prosecutors. So now it's not the justice system, which always, in theory, was independent, an independent body, the judiciary. Now it's, a weapon for political opponents. And it's really is... It's such a horrific thing. It's a case that doesn't fit. There's no federal election campaign violation at all. That's been made clear by the FEC. The Southern District didn't pursue this case. Federal prosecutors in New York. FEC Commissioner Bradley Smith has come on and said there's no violation of federal campaign finance laws at all. And it's something that really is daunting that they just brought this case anyway, hoping that they'll have a judge who will say, I'm not going to dismiss the case against Trump in New York, hoping that they'll have a jury panel who says, it's a very blue city and New York County is not very friendly to President Trump from a voting standpoint. That they'll get, they'll get a panel that will not be supportive of him or like him, and we'll just keep plowing ahead despite the fact that our case is meritless. It doesn't fit the law. It's not even a crime because there's no false business record crime either. Remember that. That's the misdemeanor. That this is all premised on. There's no false business record crime. Nothing was filed, Lara. Nothing was filed with it's not like he took a tax deduction and filed, a record that could be arguably false, even though it's not false in my opinion, or he filed it with the FEC and therefore it could be false. It's not there. Conversely, and it's just the most incredible example of hypocrisy is Hillary Clinton recently was fined by the FEC. Fined by the FEC for over $100,000 for a campaign law violation, right? Think what she did. She and her campaign paid for the Steele dossier, right? Paid for that. And what that was dirt on President Trump regarding Russia, which turned out to be nothing more than a hoax and it wasn't real. But her campaign paid over $100,000 for that. She was fined for that, for not declaring that. Because here's what they declared that as. This is so incredibly coincidental and hypocritical. They declared that payment of dirt, because it was dirt mongering, as legal fees. Legal fees. Now, conversely, President Trump gets indicted for paying a lawyer legal fees with personal funds, not campaign funds. Hillary Clinton uses campaign funds.
Right.
Calls a payment for anything but legal fees, because it was just dirt on a political opponent, calls that legal fees, that's mislabeling for sure, uses campaign funds, and is fined. Donald Trump gets indicted for using personal funds on a personal matter. It is, if you ever want an example of how the system treats both parties differently, there's your living proof.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. Hillary Clinton actually committed the crime that they are literally trying to put Donald Trump in jail if they can for doing. And he obviously didn't do it. Like what Hillary Clinton did was very clear. She used campaign funds
Correct.
to pay for the Steele dossier, and the goal, of course, was to help her win the election in 2016.
Exclusively for the election. Yeah.
Of course, exclusively for that reason. Donald Trump, of course, personal money. How can, of course, it just, none of it makes sense on his side, and everybody has agreed on that. But I'll go a step further with Hillary Clinton, because what came, Joe, of the Steele dossier, that led to the Russia collusion hoax. That cost the taxpayers of America tens of millions of dollars. We had to get through the Russian collusion nonsense, the Mueller probe, all of it. It took years to get through all of that. Think about what she caused, and what did she get? She just got a fine. And Donald Trump, they're putting on trial. It's outrageous. I want to ask you, though, because Eric and I obviously used to live in New York City. We left because it's an awful place to live right now. Of course, it's not lost on anyone that Alvin Bragg spent all of this money, all this time, all this energy on this case when New York is crumbling to the ground because crime is through the roof. But I think most people look at this and they say Donald Trump cannot get a fair trial in New York City. There is no doubt. We know that you can indict a ham sandwich, right? So it's maybe not surprising that this indictment went forward, that they found just enough people in a grand jury to say, we hate Donald Trump. Yeah, let's put him on trial for this. But in New York, as you just said, I mean, most people in New York City did not vote for Donald Trump. Most people in New York hate Donald Trump. It's crazy. Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. That's why she's wearing a blindfold. She is not blind in this case. We can see what's going on here. And I assume that the next steps maybe for the legal team here will be to ask for a change of venue, potentially have the judge recuse himself, because there are a lot of questions as to whether or not he should actually be here. And then I want to ask you, too, about the Sixth Amendment, Donald Trump's Sixth Amendment constitutional right. Some have argued has been violated. It's the right of a criminal defendant to be informed of the nature and cause of accusation, which Alvin Bragg has not done. He didn't do it in the indictment. He wouldn't do it in his press conference, post arraignment for Donald Trump. So what's happening next for the team? We know that they're not going to see Donald Trump back in the courtroom until December, but what do you guys have that you can tell us about?
We're going to be obviously once we get all discovery, after we deal with this protective order issue and get that resolved, we'll get the discovery, all the grand jury testimony and everything else. It'll be under protective order, but we'll be able to get to work. And what I mean by that is we'll start deciding what motions are going to be filing. I'm telling you, motions to dismiss are coming. On many grounds: prosecutorial misconduct, selective prosecution, legal insufficiency. There's all those statute of limitations. Perhaps we'll pursue a venue change. Perhaps we have to look at everything. Maybe a recusal motion is right based on recent information that's come out. Again, I'm not committing to anything yet because we need to get all the discovery. But when we do, there will be no stone left unturned to make sure every ounce of justice that President Trump deserves is handed to him, and it's going to be done one way or another in this case. I'm assuring you, Lara, that it's not going to be a situation where he's going to have a criminal conviction here. This case should never see a jury, but if it does, he's still going to be in a position where this horrific miscarriage of justice is righted. I have no question about that.
Well, before we let you go, Joe, first of all, I just want to say what a great job you're doing and how lucky I think my father-in-law is to have you representing him. You're doing a great job. Did you ever imagine you'd find yourself in a situation like this? I mean, you obviously, like I said, you've done this for a long time, but man, this has got to be the biggest one you've ever had.
Yeah, it really hit me when I was in a Secret Service motorcade on the way down to court. That's never happened before. Probably will never happen again. So it was like, this is different. It's the biggest I've ever had, obviously, but it's not even just the fact that it's the president. It's the fact that this case has so many important ramifications for our future, for the justice system, for this country, for the rule of law in this country. And that's something that's daunting and something I take very seriously. And that's what really motivates me. That's why you see a lot of passion come out of me when I speak about it. I believe in this case. I believe when I say believe in this case, I believe in our side of this case, which means there's never should be an indictment brought. This is politically motivated, and it really makes me feel angry that we're here, that this is happening. Your father-in-law is one of the strongest guys, if not the strongest guy I've ever met. He's as tough as anyone. His knees do not buckle. But I was at the table with him, next to him in court the other day, and I felt so bad for him. I really did. This shouldn't happen to anyone. It shouldn't happen to anyone. And that's why, I feel when you see me out there talking, sometimes it's like I'm throwing flamethrowers at people's heads when I'm talking and responding. But that's how I feel. I mean, I feel very protective of him and this case, because it's a true outrage, and it's so intellectually dishonest, and it's everything that's wrong about the abuse of power is in effect here.
It's so true, all of it. I agree with you. When I saw, all eyes in the world were on that courthouse. They were waiting for him to come through those doors to walk into the courtroom. I can't imagine how that was for you as his attorney to be there with him. But I think for probably all Americans who love freedom and justice, believe in this country, it was a really sad moment. As a member of his family, I mean, for me, I felt so bad for him too. But the incredible thing about Donald Trump, and you know this, Joe, is that this is the one and only man, I believe, who could truly take this head on, who could truly look this in the face and say, I'm not backing down. Is it true they wanted to settle this? And he said no?
I mean, we've not gotten to any plea negotiation with them. We never will get any plea negotiation with them.
And he'll never settle, right? Of course.
Zero chance that's happened. Zero. Yeah. That's a guarantee. He'll never plead guilty to anything. That's the only way you settle. It's not a civil case, it's a criminal case. So the only way to settle it is by way of a guilty plea. That's never happening. So if we settle on the right terms, our terms, with a dismissal, or it won't be settled at all.
I love that. Love to hear it. Joe, go get him. I mean, we're here. We're all behind you and my father-in-law. You have done such a great job. Like I said, I'm sure we'll see more. But go take it to him, because you're right. It's obviously about Donald Trump, but it is so much bigger than Donald Trump. It's about the future of our country. It's about the future of the world, really, because the world looks to the United States of America as the leader, as the beacon of hope and freedom. And if we let this happen to our country, it will cease to exist as we've always known it. So no pressure on you, Joe, but we love it. You're doing awesome.
Okay, that's my dopamine. That pressure's my dopamine. It'll be fine.
We have full faith that you're gonna take this one all the way through. So thank you for joining us here on The Right View today. We'll let you go get to work because we know you've got a lot to do. Thanks for joining us, and go get them.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. To everybody, as always, thanks for joining us here on The Right View. We'll see you back here next time for more. You are the best, Joe. Thank you. At The Right View, we're very proud of the fact that we are independent. We get to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. We have no woke companies guiding us or telling us what we can and cannot say. We are always going to shoot you straight and give you the facts as we know them. And that's why it's important to support independent outlets like The Right View. My name is Lara Trump, and I think Mike Lindell is a patriot. He is someone who loves this country, is willing to fight for this country. I love MyPillow because not only are MyPillows made in the USA by American workers, but they're great products, and they're so great that not only do I use them in my own bed at night, my children actually requested. My daughter the other day went to the closet and pulled out a MyPillow and said, this is the pillow that I want to sleep with. And I gotta tell you, she loves it and will have nothing to do with any other pillow. So it's a big hit around our house. My dogs also happen to sleep on MyPillow dog beds. So all around the Trump household, we're big fans. If you go to mypillow.com today and use promo code Trump. Again, promo code Trump. You will not only save money, but you will help us continue this show and other shows like it and help us continue the fight for the future of America. Inflation has impacted all of our lives. I don't think anyone can go to the gas pump or the grocery store without noticing that it is a major factor. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going down in the way that we would like it to. And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code Trump. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money. We live in a time that's very interesting. A lot of us out there feel like a lot of our rights are slipping away. And if you're like I am and you want to have the right to choose whether or not to have a vaccine, how to live your life freely, and you're looking for a great doctor, I've heard amazing things about Dr. Sherwood. He's somebody who you should really check out and check into, and it'll help support this program and keep us going. So go to Sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. Again, Sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. You can save yourself some money and help us keep our program going.
Ladies and gentlemen, this just in. We'll keep this a little secret between you and me and them and everybody. Whoa. The people that are actually at the tip of the spear, working directly with President Trump on a day-to-day basis to save this nation, they're all joining us on the Reawaken America tour. We have President Donald J. Trump's Chief of Staff, Kash Patel. We've got Peter Navarro's joined us on the tour. We have General Michael Flynn. We have Eric Trump. The people actually working at the tip of the spear with President Donald J. Trump to save America are joining us on the Reawaken America tour. Whoa. If word of this gets out, if the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, monetary fraud, and mainstream media gets out, it may just save the nation.
The Reawaken tour is coming to our place, hallelujah. It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit. Yeah, it's gonna be lit. Wide slam open.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, on May 12th and 13th, the Reawaken America Tour is coming to Miami, Florida, and to the beautiful Trump Doral Resort and Golf Course. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Reawaken America Tour is coming to Miami, Florida on May 12th and 13th. Get your sunscreen ready because General Flynn, Mike Lindell, Amanda Grace, Julie Green, Pastor Dave Scarlett, Dr. Judy Mikovits, Kash Patel, and Team America are taking the Reawaken America Tour to Trump Doral on May 12th and 13th. And then we're taking the God-fearing, revival-starting Reawaken America Tour into Sin City. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking the God-fearing Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada on August 25th and 26th. General Flynn and Team America will be taking the Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada. And the Patriots will be staying together at Trump International Hotel, Las Vegas, located at 2000 Fashion Show Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, with zip code 89109 if you want to send them a letter. And yes, Alex Jones will be live and in person at the Reawaken America Tour, Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, put it on your calendar. Get those tickets right now. August 25th and 26th. Eric Trump, Dr. Peter McCullough, Mel K, Dr. Stella Emanuel, Owen Schroyer, Alex Jones, Seth Holhouse, Pastor Mark Burns, Pastor Leon Benjamin. We're all taking the Reawaken America Tour to Las Vegas, Nevada, ladies and gentlemen. Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's going to be August 25th and 26th. Thus far on the Reawaken America Tour, we've featured Dr. Dave Martin, the late great Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, Charlie Kirk, Donna Clement Petruska, Sean Foyt, Karen Kingston, Chad Prather, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Alan Keyes, Mickey Willis, Roger Stone, Dr. Richard Bartlett, and hundreds of patriotic speakers that you know, including Del Bigtree, Thomas Renz, Sidney Powell, Jim Caviezel, Donald J. Trump Jr., Peter Navarro, Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, Bill Gates, and the godless globalists have their annual meeting called the World Economic Forum at Davos. But we that reject the Great Reset have the Reawaken America Tour coming to Miami, Florida, and coming to Las Vegas, Nevada. Get those tickets at time2freeamerica.com. That's time2freeamerica.com. We have scholarship pricing to make these events affordable for everybody. Every Reawaken America Tour event has sold out, so request those tickets today at time2freeamerica.com. That's time2freeamerica.com. Or for faster service, you can send me a personal text to 918-851-0102. That's 918-851-0102. And to be bilingually sensitive, that's 918 855-JUAN-0102.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
We will shut you down. We will cite you, and if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Period.
I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
God actually spoke to me. He spoke about sacredness. He said to me, Kim, what I place in many, many people is sacred. And if anybody touches what is sacred to me, then it is the end for them. So what I've done in the United States of America is sacred. And there are people on every side that are trying to destroy what I deem sacred. And it's not going to happen.
This is the definition of criminal conspiracy, racketeering, and collusion. This is not a theory. This is evidence.
Because I have upheld this country to spread a light to the rest of the world. When you choose to go against the sacred thing that God puts into the very heart and the soil of this nation, this was sacred to God.
Now is the time to act.
This is exactly why I need some action from my people. Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with you.